mostly like doing the radio and, coordinating everybody else behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, you are. You're behind the scenes a lot. Yes.
We didn't even really, I have a couple of things in mind to discuss today. I'm a spokesperson for a campaign called Human2020. The way, the collective sees the targeting and so forth.
We had you on about a year ago, and a lot has happened since then. So let's catch us up. 3, 2, 1.
Go ahead.
Hi guys, welcome to VL TV. Our guest tonight is a respected advocate and activist against legal child trafficking within Child Protective Services. She is the founder of Porthole to Justice, which is a platform for families and children who are the victims of corruption and fraud that CPS spreads to their lives. Porthole to Justice aims to expose court fraud and legal human trafficking within our own government. With archived data collected to expose, empower, and educate the public, help us welcome to VLTV, Amelia Duran. Hey!
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
So we had Amy on about a year ago, and she was just getting started with Porthole to Justice. So since so much has happened in the last year, we wanted to bring her back for an update. Take it away, Amelia. What's been going on?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So since the Porthole to Justice, a lot has happened. And, I'm originally an artist. I had, originally I had created and developed a jewelry line called Orchid Free Feel Unique, where I have jewelry and I paint on silk scarves. And I was really feeling this targeting stuff in my life and this corruption that was really pulling me into this court system. And it was almost like self-preservation. I had to find out, why is this happening? Why is this happening to so many good people that I know that aren't guilty, that aren't necessarily people that you would assume would be involved in the system.
Right.
So, the question was just burning, and and it really occurred to me that it's designed, it's functioning exactly the way that it was designed, and that is to bring in people into the system that is very corrupt and disservice to the people, and it's actually cultivating human trafficking. And contriving poverty. And when you have poverty in society, it creates a vulnerable population of people that become more susceptible to human trafficking.
Yeah.
So I became a spokesperson for my dear friend Govinda Tidbal's initiative called Human2020. And it's leaders from all over, every major religion and faith from all over the world. And everyone's made a global pledge to end human trafficking by 2020. Modern day slavery in the forms of sex trafficking, labor trafficking, organ trafficking, illegal adoption, child soldiers, and the like have become $150 billion industry, and it's violating the most fundamental human rights of approximately 35.8 million people, and this is globally.
Wow, that is crazy numbers, right? So how many are in this group?
in the Human 2020 initiative?
Yes.
Well, it's anybody that wants to get involved, really. And if you want to check out the website, you can learn more about it. Human2020.com. Right. But it's us. It's everybody in the social media news network. It's the two of you. It's Govinda Tidball, who hosts the radio show Faith Mix. Mm-hmm. It's Zeph Daniels and his beautiful wife, Trish Daniels. Zeph hosts the Zeph Report, and Kuneda's Ramble. We have Freedom Franklin, who has personal empowerment lectures, and it's just this really neat group of individuals that are fearlessly exposing the corruption. And it's giving me an opportunity to use my skills as an artist in a different way, where I collect people as art.
Yeah.
You better clarify that. That can go really bad.
I collect people as art. Okay.
I know. Most people collect like cars and stuff like that, right? Like,
right.
Artwork. I collect personalities, radio show hosts, people like that, people like yourselves that are dedicated to exposing this. It's become an epidemic in our society and culture. And, when we talk about 2,500 children being trafficked at our borders, when we have 24 million children in the United States that are being trafficked through the corrupt family courts.
Yes.
So
it's hypocritical. We don't talk about that, though, right? The mainstream media never talks about that. They just talk about what's going on at the border, and they politicize everything. It's ridiculous.
Well, they play on people's emotions.
Yes.
And it's really unfortunate because it's like pulling teeth trying to get them to talk about some of the corruption that's going on in our own government in regards to human trafficking. However, when it comes close to election time and they want to pass a bill to make it easier possibly to traffic children at our borders, which, for all intents and purposes, that's my opinion. But when it comes to that, the media is on board and really playing up kind of what I felt like was false narratives. A lot of we now know a lot of these children are not being taken away from their parents. They're being taken away from people that are trafficking them at the borders.
That's exactly. In fact, the majority of them, was it something like 75 or 85% that came across were not with their biological parents. Mm-hmm. And that's not being talked about either.
No, and it's actually we're really fortunate because I think it was very brilliant of our president to come up with the DNA test at the borders, because that determines a lot. Either you're blood related, or you're possibly a human trafficker. Mm-hmm. So, but it's just like it's that whole. That whole media, that's just playing on the people's emotions and really getting everybody heated when it comes to, initiatives that they want to use to their advantage. Because I don't think people really understand that this isn't just these aren't just isolated incidences to our borders. This is a global crisis. These are crimes against humanity. So what I'm trying to do is, with my work that I'm, currently working on, which is the project, which is Porthole to Justice and Social Media News Network, and my radio show. So I'm trying to bring on guests that have been exposing this for, upwards of 25 years. I've been in this for 7 years. I've been doing this for 7. So I'm kind of new, but
wow.
I want to
years. That's a long time, girl.
Yeah, I think we're all a lot newer than you are, to be honest with you.
We are.
We haven't done it for
really
only a couple of years.
Yeah, not even 3 years, coming up on 3 years. But wow, that's phenomenal. 7 years. And you pour your heart and soul into this stuff. I mean, you're busy 24/7 on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 7 years. Have you seen a progress, say, within the last year and a half or so? Doesn't it seem like we are making some progress?
Well, since the Trump administration and his human trafficking bill, yes, I have. There's been a huge increase in bust and arrest. However, a lot of us, civilians notice that it's not civilians committing these crimes, that it's actually the government. Most recently, in New Mexico, there was the child trafficking camp that was discovered. And then shortly after that, the perpetrators were let off by I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but and the evidence was destroyed by our own FBI or Department of Homeland Security. And so we're witnessing these things happen. I mean, this also happened in Arizona a few months ago.
Yeah. So it's common. And now if something bad is going to be exposed about the government, they just destroy the evidence and get away with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and we sort of have these two different set of laws, for individuals, and it's just not working. It's not working. So what I try to do is, with my art and my talents, all of my many different talents, I try to multitask and we condense the information into these really small phrases and memes that can speak to some of these crimes, that can reach out to the people. Even if you have like a 12th grade learning education, you can grasp these small concepts and apply them in your everyday life. And hopefully, eventually, we can change this whole template that we're working on, that we're all working together to keep going, that is a disservice to humanity. And we can maybe, hopefully, suffocate it out and come up with something that's much better for the collective.
So do you think that's possible? How do you think it's possible for us, the citizens, the regular people, to snuff out what's going on in the government? Do you think that's going to call for a revolution? Do you think it's going to be quiet? Do you think it's technical? All of the above? I not all of the above. I don't think we have to go as far as to like war or combat, but I do think we need more education, more empowerment, self-empowerment. We need to educate about things like handlers. Our children need to know about these pitfalls that are set up in their way, in their life, to sabotage them along the way. So I just think that we need to condense the information in more simple form, so that society as a whole isn't any longer wearing blinders to these issues, because that's part of what has allowed it to become the epidemic that it has, is the fact that and so many participate in the system. Yeah. So many, we know that the Child Protective Services is corrupt. They've come out, they've been exposed in many publications, they've been exposed all over the internet. I know that when before I moved here to Texas, there were 1,000 registered pedophiles that were approved for foster care placement in Los Angeles alone. Oh my gosh!
Wow. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, we are making headway. I can tell you, mainstream people, the people that have not been red pilled yet, are starting. It's starting to hit my regular Facebook feed. See, I separate my page from my personal life on my feed, and I really don't do too much Victurus Libertas on my regular feed, on my Facebook feed. But I'm starting to see child trafficking and CPS stories coming into play on my regular Facebook feed, which means people are waking up to what's going on right now, and they're believing that there is an epidemic right now, and everybody's asking, what can we do? And I think the truth community is also asking, what can we do? We are waking people up, but now the fact of the matter is this is happening at the highest level of the government. What can you do about that? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to be able to vote these people out? And how can we make sure that the next person doesn't do the same thing as the previous person?
Yeah. You know, this is a dilemma, but I would hope that, people realize that we don't really have anybody in Congress that are representing we the people anymore.
That's right.
So I would hope that people have opened their eyes to at least that reality. Yeah. I would love to do more, I work with, I'm a zero-based project. So I work, I have some people that support me and my work and what I do, and I'm very fortunate in that regard. However, it's a shoestring budget.
We hear
Don't we know about that?
Yeah, we know what you're talking about there.
Definitely. But I would like to circle back to what you were talking about with the memes and the short phrases and the catchphrases, and you do a fantastic job. I see you put up the memes that when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, it really is when you put those memes up, and they can be so powerful. That is something that I think we probably don't utilize enough. That's a great.
Well, I think that's what some of that stuff is hitting my regular Facebook feeds, and I think that's working. Yeah, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Fabulous.
Well, it was a concept that I came up with a friend of mine who was him and his family were also a victim to the Child Protective Services about 7 years ago. And, we work together and we create we have, I think collectively in our movement now, last week we had a meeting on my live radio show. We have 80,000 people in our movement now.
Wow.
We can believe it. And all the collective groups.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That is phenomenal. Yeah. That's great numbers. And we need to double that and double it again, right?
Yeah. So like Social Media News Network is like a baby, compared to some of the larger platforms that we've been running for years. There's Dr. Phil Exposed CPS. There's data wars because a lot of the targeting is going on too on social media, where they're profiling single moms and dysfunctional families or anything they can find to, break up the family.
I know it doesn't that definitely seems like that's the end result. I mean, they get a lot of icing on all of that, but I mean, it seems like for a while it's been all about breaking up the family.
Yeah.
Anytime, if there's a domestic dispute that has nothing to do with the kids whatsoever, the police want to come in, separate the two, and get you to file charges against one another. And then they put in a restraining order without even telling the couple that there's a restraining order in place.
If you get a domestic violence call to your home, your child will be removed and put into Child Protective Service custody. And once they have custody of your children, it is very hard to get them back. And we all know, what Child Protective Services is now. It was years ago that Senator Nancy Schaefer out of Georgia tried to tell everyone in her speech to Congress about the pedophile rings that were operating within the Child Protective Services. And shortly after that, she lost her seat in Congress. and her and her husband were murdered, suicided.
Yep. Yes.
So these are some of the things that, we're all putting ourselves at risk. And I think that's part of the reason why it's like, if I have more platforms, working with me, then it's like they can't come get us all, right?
That's what we like to hope.
But,
yeah.
It's true.
That's what we always try to get as public as we can whenever we get targeted, and it comes in waves, and it never completely goes away, but it eases up, and then they do something else that's...
Yeah, I had a visit by some kind of Secret Service guy the other day in the parking lot. So.
And they're making it way more blatant now. It's just very much more in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the censorship, that's scary, though. You had one come right up to you in the parking lot?
Yeah, I was in the parking lot. He blocked me. He blocked my way as I was going to go into the store. And then he backed up and into a parking space. And then he waited until I came out of the store for about 20 minutes. He just waited there. And then as I was coming out of the store to put my packages into my car, he just drove by me real quick and stared at me. And he made a gesture with his hand. I don't know what he was doing, but he was one of those goon dudes, bald, wearing sunglasses, I think, and Armani suit, $70,000.
I know, and they're always doing these gestures with their hands. Like, we don't notice, right? Like, we don't notice that they're doing all these hand signals to each other, right?
Yeah, I know. And it's all secret.
I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so this is either a contractor, a paid contractor, or the government, Secret Service person trying to intimidate me. And they're paying these guys a lot of money to dress up like this and to drive these $80,000 Suburbans, tinted out and stuff like that. I'm saying to myself, what are you doing? We're trying to help people, right? And you're targeting us. So that to me is suspect, that is suspect that these guys are up to no good as far as I'm concerned. So go ahead, guys, just keep on watching me. I mean, it's a pain in my butt, but still.
What can we do? It's par for the course, but I'm glad you're safe and okay.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody. Did you hear about the who was that journalist that
Jennifer Moore?
That's right.
Yeah, she also had a task force, a human trafficking task force group on Facebook, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's kind of like. It kind of hits home a little bit because we have a mutual friend, her and I, George Webb. George Webb's been on my show as a guest, Porthole to Justice, as a radio guest, and he was the last one to see her. But something I want to point out about her and her story, she had, I think, a few days prior, reported her story to the DHS and I think the FBI. Yeah. And, what we know now, that's probably not the way to go. Like,
No, because these are the guys that are checking you out. I mean, these are the guys that are, checking the innocent people
you
out.
So what would be the right steps to take if Jim and I find some important information out? What would be the correct steps to take in order to get that where it needs to be?
I think kind of like what we're doing now, which is making a public record, getting testimonies, live testimonies on our shows, our platforms, collecting and data mining evidence. I really believe that, and I believe in a higher power. Yeah. And I believe that the big guy really wants this stuff to get out. And I really am hoping for this 20 on 20 that we're going to hit critical mass with this information. And, and hopefully, these people will be forced to start doing the right thing, because the corruption right now, it's just, it's so blatant, it's so obvious. And we have, we have this wonderful thing called the internet, and so many modes and ways of communication and socializing information and even, selling goods and services online. And when you have a government that is targeting with no due process, saying who can have a public platform or who can communicate and who you can communicate and with who you can't communicate, you are hindering commerce. You're hindering people being able to function. So, this is a huge issue. I mean, this is really big. So I think this coming election is going to be really, really important. So I really think that we're going to head a point to where, it's going to be shows like yours and mine that are really delivering and socializing messages for the everyday people. Information that we want to know, that we need to know, that we need to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think our time is limited, though, because they're really suppressing us. They're attacking the First Amendment. And so we got to get this information out now, because I don't know how long it's going to be that they're going to allow us to speak our minds on social media.
I've been feeling for probably a year a very big sense of urgency, and I could not pinpoint, why or what was causing it, or but just high anxiety and urgency is what my gut tells me, and so we're trying to do whatever we can right now, just like you, obviously, all of us are scrambling trying to get the truth out there, but I don't know what's going to happen. I have said this a lot in the last month, but I never thought I would see the things in my lifetime on this earth that I've seen. And I'm fairly young still, so I don't know what's to come.
Well, and the crazy thing, too, is, if you start making accusations, even though you have some credible information that the government is involved in some of this trafficking stuff or some nefarious people, all of a sudden you become an enemy of the state. You become an enemy of a government official. And then it gives them the right to look at you as an enemy of the state and a domestic terrorist. And the NDAA kicks in and they can start surveilling you illegally.
Yeah.
Well, something that has been sort of a rule of thumb for myself, because it is a double-edged sword, okay? And there really shouldn't be any gray area. And I am a stickler for only reporting on indictments and convictions, because there's a very strict set of criteria. And I really try not to put out. That's why I don't use anonymous sources like Q, Anon. Because I just think it's dangerous, and it can be used both ways. So I try to keep it really down to earth and stick to the facts, man.
And you do, and you do a fantastic job of that too.
And that is the smart thing.
I don't know if you follow her. I've followed her for a long time, but you do? Yeah, she's anybody who has not gone to the Porthole to Justice. And what are some of your other groups? I know I'm on like 2 or 3 of them.
Porthole to Justice, which is on Spreaker. You can subscribe to my radio show for free and follow and get live updates of when I, email updates of when I go live. And there's Social Media News Network, right, which is all of us platforms speaking out.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I have a question though. So, how do you get information about officially who's being indicted and stuff like that? If we know that CNN and the other news stations are fake news or whatnot, or they could be even complicit to this whole thing, how do you get the information to officially come out? How do we know that's even the truth?
Well, I can give you my sources. My sources I usually use are victimsofcrime.org.
Right.
Or justia.com. You can also go to Pacer. You have to pay. You can pay to look at court documents and indictments.
Yeah.
But I usually require, a sufficient amount of evidence before I will consider somebody to go on my show. If you want me to consider your content, you can email me at portholetojustice@yahoo.com. And that's usually where I'll gather my information, and I'll fact check it from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I was talking more about a report that you were talking about yesterday or the day before that.
One about Trump doing an investigation into Obama.
Well, Obama and the Clintons. Right. And they wanted them to be investigated and arrested and all that kind of stuff. What was that on? And I couldn't find that.
See, I saw where they were standing up in front of the media. Who are they giving the speech to? They were giving a speech, and it was like it was representatives from the White House saying that Trump was about to open an investigation into the Obamas and the handling of the Hillary emails and the uranium deal and investigating Hillary Clinton. And it obviously was there. It was obviously a press conference, but we saw it nowhere on any kind of mainstream media. And so he didn't.
A great source for the Clinton content and the uranium deal is Lazaro Encinero.
Yeah.
And he's do you know him?
Oh, yes, we know Laz, yes.
Yeah, he does excellent work. He's a dear friend of mine for 7 years, and he's a reporter in the Social Media News Network. And he has researched that from all angles. He's got it all. He would be the best source.
Actually. And that's right. We should reach out to Laz and ask him about that. And when he came on our show last time, he just has so much information that he was just talking 100 miles an hour because he just knows so much. He is a complete world of information. You're right. He is.
He's very high functioning and just highly intelligent and well spoken as well, and he tries to get out so much information and content all at once. And I just think some people they're like, oh my god, Well, but I mean, he knows these names and these people and their offices and, personally who's involved in some of the corruption. I have another friend, Michael Gill, who I had on my show last week, who's also somebody that's very high functioning and very much aware of the corruption. He hosts a show called State of Corruption. And out of New Hampshire. So, and it's just, the more that I work with all of these different people and I have them on my show, the more I realize that it's a global network. And, I think what we can do as individuals socially is inform ourselves, be aware that, this is a part of our world now. This is a part of our reality. And, some of these tools we can apply in our everyday lives, the information and tools. I'm trying to provide some resources for targeted individuals. Targeting is very real.
Yes.
And the end goal of targeting is to break someone down and basically human traffic them. So, you might see someone being gaslighted or, to the point to where they become homeless. And so their options become very limited, and they very often will fall into some of these very dark paths. So
can you go to can you let everybody know what gaslighting means, the people that don't know what that means? Sure.
It's psychological warfare. And it's a tactic in which a person or an entity, a corporation, that could be a corporation, for them to gain more power. It makes the victim question their reality. It works a lot better than what people think. And anybody is susceptible to gaslighting. There was a really good movie with Michael Douglas, I think back in, I'm trying to think of the name of the movie.
The Game.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. That's
very
a good example of gaslighting.
Very
for sure.
Psychological. I think Jim asked that on my behalf, because somebody, I don't know if it was a troll or I'm not familiar with the person at all, but they went on social media and started saying that I was harassing them and talking about Craig Sawyer, and that I was gaslighting them. And I asked Jim, I was like, what does that even mean? What are they saying? I don't know what
I'm gaslighting somebody and I don't even know what it means.
I don't know what it
So I told her what it meant.
Yeah. The targeters are very crafty like that. You know, it's funny because we can now watch our own president be targeted and gaslighted.
Yeah.
So it's not one of these things that can just be blown off or relegated to conspiracy theory anymore. And, a lot of these people will join these fusion centers and cults that will perpetuate and even, and it makes them feel like they have an upper hand over people, I guess. And, a lot of them are narcissists and they're handlers or they're pimps. It's a means of control. Yep. And it empowers the abuser.
Yeah. Yes.
For sure.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Amazing how that stuff works. I mean, the human brain, as amazing as it is, isn't it so fragile?
And and CNN, not just CNN, all the social media, all the mainstream media, they just make people think that they're going crazy too. They weaponize the term conspiracy theory. What does weaponizing conspiracy mean? It means that you have everybody that's not red pilled thinking if you talk about anything like the 9/11 buildings didn't come down the way that they said, all of a sudden you're a conspiracy theorist, or if you're an Alex Jones supporter, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're in the nut bucket.
If you ask questions about anything, if CNN goes on and says anything, and then you ask a question, they demonize you.
Well, a lot of what's been considered conspiracy in the past is now considered to be common knowledge. So I think, when people talk about weaponizing conspiracy theory, I think that's dismissive. I think it's just it's somebody that probably doesn't want to look at the issues or, it's dismissive.
I completely agree. Yeah. That was stated well. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. But that's kind of what's been going on with me. We've got Social Media News Network. We have the Human2020 campaign, and you can check that out at human2020.com. And, hopefully, I do have links where people can support my content and my work. And, hopefully we can make it through to bigger and better things, because I have so many ideas and so much more that I'd like to be doing and sharing with the community and the world at large. And I'm just holding on and hoping that, I'll get to be able to do those things someday.
Oh, I think you will. And what you're doing now is fabulous. And I'm a big fan of everything that you do. And you are, the work that you put out, like I said, you do put your heart and soul into it. You do great research. You make sure that everything, you dot your I's and cross your T's before you put it out. We, like you, we have not reported anything on Q because it's tough to it's tough to research and validate some of that stuff. And we just want to be sure. It only takes one story that you put out there that's false to get called on, and you lose all of your credibility that you've worked for 7 years. That's horrible. You got to walk a really tight line.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm kind of like the mama bear behind the scenes with all of the reporters, because I'm like, okay, everybody, we can't use anonymous sources. It's not that we don't like Q particularly. It's just, we can't be putting our all the work that we've invested and all of the content that we have at risk because we're going to report on one story that's just going to get us all flushed down the toilet.
So true. So
it's not worth it.
And then, like Jim was saying, if one of us does a bad story, we're all lumped into that basket, and we're all those crazy nuts that did that one false story. So it's really tough right now. I mean, you got to be very careful in this.
Yeah, especially with the new censorship. And I think, I know that I'm being shadow banned. Our own president is being shadow banned, which is just incredible to me.
Yeah.
So, having sources in this new climate that we have coming in with the censorship is really important.
Yes, it is. I think all the new up and coming platforms are going to be vital for us, and we're going to have to start really going out into different directions and not staying in these main. I know it's easy to stay on the main social platforms because there's so many people and you feel like you've got a larger audience. But when they shadow ban you so much, I mean, you're not getting out there anyway. So we've got to explore these new avenues.
We're doing exactly what you're doing too, because honestly, if we got on the Q train, we'd probably have 250,000 subscribers and all that other kind of stuff. But to me, it's not worth it. I really need to get this right. I need to be disseminating truth. And it's not about the money. It's not about the subscribership. It's about getting the truth out and doing the right thing. And I think it's always been that way for us. And that's kind of why we've got some really great supporters, that have been with us for 2 years now. And even after getting axed all 70,000 subscribers, we came back and people found us. I know it's, but
that's horrible. They even took my interview down. I was like, hey,
well, I know, right? We had to start all over again. I had gotten a backup channel about 3 months before that happened because I knew it was going to happen. So I had like 23 subscribers.
On the backup channel.
On the backup channel. I had like 23 subscribers. So I got on there after they nixed this. They wouldn't even let me on there because they did.
Google. You have to log in with the Google email, and they shut down the Google email and everything.
They suspended all of our Google email account, our Gmails as well.
Yes.
So I had to get real creative.
It was insane. And just when something like that happens is when you realize what a monopoly that they have. And if they want you out, you're out of there. I mean, like you said, we did have to get really creative.
That's what I question sometimes. I see people are trending like crazy and they're flourishing. And I question why they're allowed to get as many views as they do. I'm not going to name any names, but I just think it's odd to me.
Well, you can purchase these. You can purchase these bots that will generate a steady amount of followers for you.
Each
video or content that you publish, you're guaranteed 4,000 or 6,000 views. When you purchase these bots. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay. But it is suspect to me. And I try to, everybody that I have in the social media news network, I know personally. So,
yeah.
And they're all doing really, really good work. There's Bud Bud Vino, Far From Normal radio show in there, and there's
come on, name them all.
I know, I'm trying to think of more. I'm trying to think of more, but there's some good, really good. There's good content there for you know.
Well, and I think I'm going to start making a list of these people and putting them on our channel and our website because I already started making a repository of what I call red pill videos and store articles and things like that, because there's so much information. And people that are just waking up, it's like drinking out of a fire hose, and you know you're going here, here, and here. It'd be nice for them just to have a couple of places where they can get a lot of information
that we're sure is good.
Some of the core stuff, anyway. You know, like I go to like Loose Change when I wanted about for 9/11 and things like that. Yeah.
So if you would, whenever you send me the links that you would like for me to include on your information in the description, just send me any other people that you consider exceptional work. And we would love to add them to our website and to the channel where Jim is talking about. He just started this project yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, just yesterday. I put it out there, and I think I've got 100 emails from people already. And I was like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be like this.
Yeah. Well, you know, and we get to socialize really great interviews as well. You know, we get to socialize some of our content. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of a nice resource for us all. A great interview I'd love to introduce you to is Michael Gill, State of Corruption.
Okay, I know I've heard of State of Corruption, so I may have seen some of his stuff and just not be putting the name with the face.
Yeah, he has 300,000 followers, if you can believe it.
Wow.
Is that on Twitter?
Yeah, I just did a show with him on my show. He's on Twitter and Instagram, I think, and
cool.
He had a TV show in New Hampshire as well as a radio show, and I think they just shut him down. So he's needing to like
rebuild,
you know
get out there.
Yeah,
we know
okay, and it's Gill, Gill.
Gill, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we could all commiserate. We could commiserate together. That'd be wonderful.
Would you tell everybody? Then you were saying Spreaker. I know you're also on Facebook. Where else can people find you?
I'm more interactive on Facebook just because it's an easy platform, and but the censorship is really making it difficult. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not as active on Twitter. It's automated information on Twitter. I've got a cat hair.
It'll get in your mouth soon enough.
For people that need to get a hold of you right away, what's your telephone number? I'm only kidding. 99999
8675309.
Oh, Jenny, you're Jenny.
Remember that one?
Yeah, Jenny. Very cool.
That's awesome.
Jenny. Yeah, that was the name of it. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. If you want to submit your content as potential for our show, you can email me at porthole2justice@yahoo.com. And any resources as far as advocacy and navigating the children and family court system, you can go to Porthole to Justice on Facebook, and I provide all of those resources for free to the public. Social Media News Network.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we got to chat and catch up. Even though I follow you on social media, I know we're just so busy that there's not a lot of time to chit chat and actually catch up. So
no, and I love your show. I love your content. I think I had caught a couple of your shows. One of them was really good. You posted it to my Facebook wall about the youth, and educating and empowering the youth about the sexual, predatory society that we live in. I think that I caught that and I was like, wow, these guys are great.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Yes, and you look beautiful tonight. So it was so wonderful to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming on.
Having me.
Thank you for coming on. We look forward to having you on again sometime.
Yes.
Keep us updated on what's going on, all right?
You got it.